Okay, welcome to Kung Fu Havoc number 2. This is part 2, and this is my second attempt at part 2. I didn't get the information I needed from Google that would actually help me versus the information that I got that would actually hurt me. So we deleted the video because the AI overview doesn't always give you the truth of what you ask them. Now, I want to be clear. I was in the comments last night, and a friend of mine who I follow, who is Afro-Indigenous, pointed out that I wasn't by myself and that I wasn't the only one who went through my primary racism coming from black people and how she went through similar shit. She's been all over the United States, where I've only been to like 3 states in Canada. All right, Georgia, Florida, Virginia, and Canada. And her experiences was a little bit different than mine, but a lot similar. Because like I said, I never had a bad Native American experience until I was in my 20s. All right, 23 to be exact. I was trying to date this little Native girl who was visiting on the wheelchair basketball team, and her two uncles treated me like complete and total dog shit. They did acknowledge that I was part Native. They said, "You're not a pure Native. We don't want you tainting our bloodline." And they came at me wrong, and so I went at them equally wrong. I literally told one that I would roll him into an oak tree. There's a parking garage there now. And I told the other uncle that I would roll him into oncoming traffic. Yes, I handled that wrong. No, I am not ashamed. Okay, I probably should be, but I'm not. I was 23. I am 52 now. I have gotten past that, and I hope that they are well, and I hope that their niece, who's beautiful as hell, is well. But that was the only bad Native American experience I ever had from natives. Now, growing up as a mixed person, I've told this on TikTok 1,000 times, and I've probably told it here 1,000 times too. Um, I had issues growing up. You know, not so much mental or physical, besides being bullied all the goddamn time, but because there was really nothing I could do. As a child, everybody knew I was mixed, and they rubbed that shit in my face. It laid back a little bit in middle school and picked back up in high school. And then when I had to start working, it became a problem with at least one or two jobs where the customer was always right was the slogan, and the customer called me chief every day for fucking 3 years and some change. And I was like, you know what, man? I can't wait till I can quit this fucking job, because if this guy calls me chief one more time, I'm gonna rearrange his goddamn face. I never got to rearrange his face. I did get to quit the job, but it was just the fact that, I'm washing dishes. I gotta pick up this guy's cigarette butts. He plays the same 7 fucking country songs every fucking Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and this motherfucker will not stop calling me chief. And about the time 2 movies came out with Lou Diamond Phillips, it was Young Guns 1 and Renegades. And in Renegades, Lou Diamond Phillips, every time somebody called him chief, he beat their ass. I absorbed that personality because I got tired of this guy calling me chief. I was like, if this motherfucker keep calling me chief, I'm going to fuck him up. So I'm going to go talk to my boss. I'm going to try to do it the right way first. So I go talk to my boss. Hey, look, Frank, can you please tell this customer to stop calling me chief? I know that I'm part Native American. He doesn't have to rub that shit in my face every day. And Frank, God bless him, would tell me to my face, the customer is always right. And I would look Frank in the eye and said, dude, I'm not comfortable with this motherfucker calling me chief. My fucking name is James. You should probably take that as an honor. No, here's how this works, y'all. Now, granted, chiefs are now electric. Chiefs are now elected in more modern times, but 9 times out of 10, it was an inherited position. And if you wasn't a descendant of the chief, regardless of if it was the war chief or the big chief or like the medicine man, you didn't pick that job up. And most of those jobs are generally taught to the descendants of those people. Like if you are a medicine man or a shaman, you are going to learn the arts of ancient medicine and mystics and magic and shit like that. Where if you are the son of a chief, whether it be the war chief or the big chief, you are going to learn the art of war. And there's no getting out of that shit. If you happen to be the daughter of the chief, you are going to learn that, even though they're not going to let you officially be there, depending on what tribe you are from. And I say that specifically because The further out west you go, they had warrior women in battle with war bonnets who have earned that right to be called a warrior woman. Take that for what it is. I don't give a fuck if you believe me or not, but take that for what it is. And these things was a thing. And so my friend Daisy, shout out to Daisy, she let me know that I wasn't by myself. Because growing up, I grew up in the projects, I'm almost white passing, and everybody knew that we were mixed. And they rubbed that shit in my face like all the fucking time. You're a half breed. You're a Susie Q. You're a zebra. Um, is Kimosabi a real thing? And then the Tonto dance at school, you name it, and I faced it. And unfortunately, I faced it mostly from black people. I had a couple of white incidences, but when it came to native shit, it wasn't that bad. The worst incident I had from a white girl, her name was Christina or Christia or Chris something or another. Something was started with a C. And she called me a nigger. And yes, I don't use that word frequently if I can help it. That's the second time I used it today. I punched her in the mouth. And it took forever for me to tell the teacher, the principal, who was Italian, who was from New York, on why I did that. And he's like, you haven't been in trouble my entire administration. And all of a sudden, you hit this girl. Why did you hit this girl? And I would not tell him because we weren't allowed to use that word in our house. We never used that word in our house. Before the 80s, like the mid 80s, before gangster rap, we never used that word in the house. Hell, we barely cussed in the fucking house. And when I told him, after sitting in the fucking place for like 2.5 to 3 hours, he's like, you could have been back to class by now if you'd have just told me this shit 10 minutes ago. I was like, hey, we don't use those words in our house. Well, you know you can't ride the bus home, so I'm going to have to call your mama. And I'm like, yeah, I know. And I thought that I was going to get an ass whooping. I'm not going to lie. I got a lot of ass whoopings as a kid. And so my mom showed up, and her parents showed up. They didn't know that I was black. So they thought, because when they saw my mama, they thought that a white boy had punched their daughter in the mouth for calling somebody else a nigger. And the principal said, no, actually, she's mixed, and her son is mixed, and he's black, and your daughter called him a nigger, and we don't do that shit at my school. If you want your daughter to be racist, you take her to another school, you tell her to keep that shit at home. But she looked that boy in his face and called him a nigger, and he bust her in the fucking lip. And my mom never really got 2 words in before the principal had said that. And then he's like, but she's white. And that's when the principal said, actually, she's not. She's just very, very light-skinned. She's mixed. It's like, what? There's no way. He's like, yeah, she's mixed. Her son's mixed. And we have people who look like this in New York all the fucking time that are not white. So, fuck you, Walter Plucker. Anyway, that started the thing with me going through a lot of racist shit with white people. But my list of racist people with white people, I can really only count on one hand. With my list of racist shit that happened with me and black people, I can count on both hands and both toes, with both feet. And I've always tried to keep that watered down because I didn't want people to hate me, and I didn't want people to think that I hated black people, because I don't hate black people. And it worked in more than just that way. It also worked when it came to girls at school. We don't date half-breeds. We don't like half-breeds. We won't date half-breeds. And then when I started dating girls that were not black, it was, oh, you think you're too good for us? You think you're too good for us? Well, you can't have it both ways. If you literally told me you don't date half-breeds, what the fuck am I supposed to do? I'm not going to wait for you to change your fucking mind. Life goes on. And I went through a lot of that shit, too. And so, I don't want to go too deep into this video anymore because I don't want to get emotional. But last night, it almost brought me to tears that someone else, and a pretty woman at that, went through the same shit. Daisy's very beautiful for an Afro-Indigenous woman, and she's very tall. I don't know how to process what I felt last night, other than a small sense of relief and a small sense of joy, knowing that it wasn't just me. And though I feel sorry for Daisy, we did talk in the comments, and I was like, man, thank God, I thought it was just me. I thought it was me, and I thought it just black people just hated me because I was part native, part black, and part white, and it fucking felt like that at the time because I also was like the last guy they pick on the team. Kids really didn't want to play. It was just one of those things, and thank God for fucking GI Joe. Thank God for Spirit. Thank God for Altitude. Thank God for Airborne, because they did have some native characters on GI Joe, basically three of them. But you know, Spirit was always on the show, and Spirit was always brown. So, and he always fought Storm Shadow, and he was one of my favorite GI Joes. And in the comic book, GI Joe, Storm Shadow, and Snake Eyes had the rivalry, and Snake Eyes and Scarlet are boyfriend and girlfriend. Where in the cartoon, Snake Eyes does not have a girlfriend, and Jinx is his teacher. She's the daughter of his teacher, and he's her teacher. Snake Eyes, Jinx, and Storm Shadow were all good friends in the O. Oh, for the love of God. The Arashikage thing, I don't know how. I gotta get this shit fixed. I hope I'm still recording. Okay, I'm still recording. Sorry, y'all. The damn Adobe something or another popped up. Anyway, um, Jinx, Snake Eyes, and Storm Shadow. Storm Shadow and Jinx are cousins. His name is Tommy Arashikage, and her name is Kim Arashikage. Their names are deeply classified. Snake Eyes' name will always be classified because they probably just haven't given him a cool name yet in like the 70 some odd damn years that G.I. Joe has been on. They've never really given him a cool name. So, those were my only friends. Other than like the neighborhood kids that also was in the G.I. Joe, those were my only friends. G.I. Joe, X-Men comics in general, I really didn't have much. And it wasn't that I couldn't make friends, it's just that when you have friends and they have friends and their friends are prejudiced or racist, it turns your friends, who was your friends up until that moment, prejudiced and racist. And if you happen to be mixed, you are the center of the universe for their bullying. And it's nice to know that it wasn't just me. So I'm going to end the video right there so I can go cry in a corner because I used to go home and wonder why the world treated me this way. And I figured it out, and once I learned how to love myself, at least I'm not the fucking Pretendians. I had a legit reason. But now these Pretendians have no reason other than they now go through what I've gone through. And on a smaller note, as we close this out, I figured these Pretendians out. They're the same people who looked at me as a kid and said I ain't shit and picked on all the mixed people because being mixed wasn't cool. And now that being mixed is cool, they want to be mixed. But have you know, these motherfuckers would never survive the life as a mixed person. Ever. Thank you guys for watching. Be seeing.